Y'all go to Psalms 14. This is not on the paper, but it has a bearing on what we're going to be talking about today. Psalms chapter 14. All right. It says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good." Now, most of the time when you hear this verse, it's in conjunction with atheists. But that's not necessarily what that verse is talking about. It also talks about people who know God and have rejected God and say, "No God in my life." Okay? And that is exactly what Solomon has done. Okay? He knows God. He's actually spoken with God, but he's chosen through time and let the situations of his life and the relationships of his life change who he was in his relationship with God. It's just like when you've been married. I don't know if any of y'all has been through a divorce. Well, I've been through a divorce, okay, and it's not fun, okay? But the thing about it is you come together as one. You say you're going to come together as one and choose it, but there comes a time when that one person or both persons says, "I don't want to be with you no more." Okay? They make a conscious choice. They can make a conscious choice to stay. They can make a conscious choice to leave, And this is what he's done. He's made a conscious choice. He said, "I know you're there. I know you're good. You know you have my benefits, but I want my way." And anytime there's a divorce, unless it's anytime, I can't think of any reason there would be a divorce, whether it's abuse or anything, it's because one person wants his way or her way, And instead of working together, and no woman in the world should be subjected to brutality, either verbally or physically. No, or man. Well, I mean, like verbally. Yeah. I mean, verbally, I can understand because women are smarter than men. They got better comebacks and they're meaner. I'm just going to say, when a woman's mean, it's mean. They're mean. I mean, and they can just cut you to the quick with a word. But that's what it is. But anytime you say no God, whether it's to say that as an atheist or as to say that I know you, but I don't want you in my life, I want to be in control of my life, and I'm going to do how I want to do. That's my big weakness. I want it to things. I don't care what you're doing, but I want to do it my way. And that's the thing I have to fight in my life because I want my way. And what that is like the title of our sermon is, it's a leap into madness. The rejection of God leads to acceptance of pseudoscience. Okay? Anytime you have two choices. You either accept God or you try to find some kind of logical way, which ends up being science, to divorce yourself of the truths that you know intuitively and instinctively. Okay? And this is what he's done. Okay? Let's go to Ezekiel. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 1 through 4. 1, 4 through 11. Boy, I am tongue-tied today. Ecclesiastes 1, verse 4. "One generation passeth away." Now remember, he's already started out. He's had his sermon, and he gave you the title of the sermon. The purpose of his sermon is vanity of vanities. All is vanity. Okay? So now he's going to tell you, he's going to give you the reasons why. He's going to say, this is my argument why this is. Okay? And this is his proof text for it. He's saying, this is what it is, and I can prove it. "One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh. But the earth abideth forever. The sun also riseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about to the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor, man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. Okay, now he goes on here and he describes why we think it's new. There is no remembrance of the former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of the things that are to come with those that shall come after. Okay? So these are his proofs. Do y'all have any problems with his proof text? Sounds pretty correct, doesn't it? Okay? As we read through the text, I hope you can see that his argument is based on repeatable observation. I don't know if I spelt that right, but I did pretty good. It is a cyclical cycle. This is what happens. You can see it. What is science about? Observable, repeatable things, right? So he's gone, what has he done? He said, the world is full of emptiness. It's not worth anything, and science proves it right there. Hence, it's natural science. Okay? Verse 4, the wheel of life keeps on turning. You live, you die, and another generation comes up. Verse 5, astronomical signs continue as from eternity past into eternity future. You see, he says, it's always been like this. Just before the Big Bang, what did they say? Matter was eternal. And they still say matter is eternal because they said there was matter in the Big Bang. Before there was a bang. Yeah. Black matter, yeah, dark matter. Verse 6, elemental forces continue in their cycle. Right? Verse 7, hydrological systems remain the same. Man's desire for more is never abated. I'll give you an example. I have guns, I've bought guns, I've sold guns. There's never, ever going to be a time when I don't want something else that's a gun. I like them. And I like the bullets to go with them. I want them. You know? You can't take 10 deer guns out there to shoot a deer, but I want all of them. You know? Really, if you're smart enough, you can kill them with a rock. But it's desire to have more. You have 20 acres, what do you want? The 20 beside you. You know? Verse 9 and 10, the things we think of as new are merely recycled from the past. I read an article one time. Now, I'm not no genius, but it was an article, and they said if people disappeared from the earth without any cataclysmic floods or fires or anything, we just vanished. Within 5,000 years, the only thing that there would be to recognize would be the pyramids and Mount Rushmore. Other than that, everything, every building, every car, everything, there would be no sign that we were ever here. And the little Cherokee guy that they're building up there in the same place. Yeah. But, everything else would be gone. Because we build out of things that are perishable. Iron, metal, steel. So, who's to say what they had before the flood? Really, we don't know. Verse 11, the close shedder of times keeps us in a constant cycle of repetition. Just look at it. Before this pandemic hit, how many people ever heard of the Spanish flu? You see? And that was what, 100 years ago? But man, it was like it never happened. You know, I'm amazed. You look at people and them wells that people used to dig, first digging them with a shovel and a pick, and then putting those stone covers over them with that perfect hole. How in the world they did it? They didn't have no power tools to do it. How did they get it perfect and smooth like that? You know? But they did. They moved. They've got pyramids. They've got buildings in South America and other places that they cannot repeatably design or build now. They can't move the stones. They can't cut the stones like they did. They have no idea. So to say that them people were cavemen living in caves with no language and no nothing is foolishness. All that is saying that we're superior, we're getting better. Okay, there's another thing on this. How do you judge that? I have a brother-in-law, and he says that We can tell evolution works because we're getting faster, stronger, taller than we ever were. How do you know? How do you know? We could be the slowest generation in the world. We wouldn't know it because we don't know what happened before, because the curtain of time is closed and we can't see it. All the things that Solomon has set forth are temporal, observable things. They're things under the sun. They don't take into account spiritual things whatsoever. No God. All were established by God either for necessities of life or show man's need for God. Solomon had taken these things and made his opus, his science of the futility of life. He's taken things that God has given him for health, wealth, prosperity, to be able to live, survive, to have some happiness and be thankful. It's things to know God. And what has he done? He says vanity, emptiness, nothing. It means nothing. What do you think these people that have reached the pinnacle of life in society, and what people say, this is everything there is, and what they do, it's empty, and they end up killing themselves because there's nowhere else to go. There's no joy, no happiness. I would rather be around a person that has failed and lost everything because they still have some hope. I might get there, than somebody who has succeeded in everything, like Solomon has. He's the wisest man in the world, the richest man in the world, the king. Everybody came to him, and what was he? Miserable. Have you ever been around somebody that all they talk about is all their aches, all their pains, all their problems? Do you want to go see them? Or you say, boy, my knees bother me today. Well, you should see my knee. No, you don't want to be around him. And this is what he is. He's a royal curmudgeon. He has it all. He's been given it all. He's been blessed with all, and he hates it all. That's all he's looking for, is something to make him feel good. The problem is, it's something to make me feel good. Something for I, me. Me. There is no joy looking inside. It's when you take your focus and focus outside. You know why Paul was so successful and why Paul was able to do what he did? Is because when he seen God and knew God, he turned his focus from inside and what he was going to be to what you could be. And he wanted you to have that light and have that truth so much that he gave up everything and counted it but dung. Solomon was unhappy and he was miserable. What did he do? Still tried to bring things in to fill him. And man's an empty void. What happens with money? Money doesn't fill a vacuum. It creates one. Fame. What happens with fame? It doesn't fulfill you. It traps you. Can you imagine being famous now in like Hollywood? How would you like to just go to the grocery store? You couldn't even pick your nose without somebody taking a picture of you. Does that sound like fun? Wouldn't it be worth the money that you get not to have a life? But this is Solomon's fault. This worldview that he has is his own making, because his own need to be loved. Look, he had 300 wives and 700 concubines. That shows a mental disorder. He's trying to find something to love him, something to make him feel good about him, because he didn't feel good about him. He didn't love him. You see all these people in this world, and you see the problems and the misery that they have, and the misery 99% of the time, and the selfishness is because they have no love for themselves. They're looking outward for someone to love them. But also in that time, they reject the very person who gives them all love. Because it's not the way they want it. They want to control how that love is given to them. When that love is given to them, it's narcissistic to the extent. You can't be happy in this life without God. There's no joy in this life without God. Life is hard enough. You know, it really is. And then you sit there and say, no, God, I'm going to have it my way. What happens? It collapses. Whether you succeed in everything, it collapses. And this is where Solomon is. He did this by creating a chasm between him and God, which left him no other choice but to rely on only those things he could verify to set what he decided was the parameters of life. So he had no spiritual inclination anymore. He only could look out at what he could see and touch and taste and feel and say, this is life. Let me ask you, how many of you done that? How many times have I done that? We get so focused on what our desires and what our needs are, we set God aside. All Solomon's points are correct. And in a later era, were proved by modern science. Every point he's made is correct. But it's not the things you judge life by. It's not the things you judge joy by. It's just facts. Now, as far as eternity, the sun's always been here. You know there's a time that it was created. And we know there's going to be a time that there's a new heaven and a new earth. But as far as observable, it's always been. So the problems is not with the facts, but rather with the preacher. Solomon had set his affections on the things of this earth and had found them all wanting. There was no savor in his life, no love in his life, no joy, no happiness. Think about it. He's an old man. He's got everything. There's nobody in this world that's had more than Solomon. And what does it mean to him? Nothing. It's just vanity. Just emptiness. Why? Because he said, no God. I know what your wants, I know what your will is, but I want my way. I want to please my wives, I want to please the people around me. I want to do the things that make me look good and great in this world. And I can't do that if I'm following you. Because if I'm following you, it has to be about you, God, and I want it to be about me. I want to have the say. I want to have the glory. I want to have the... Who's that sound like? The devil. The problem is that the creator of all things was excluded from the preacher's thoughts process because he was rejected in Solomon's life. So the problem is not that God had any issues with Solomon. It was because Solomon had issues with God, and he rejected him from his processes of his life. Therefore, he was miserable. Solomon's greatest desire was to be the master of his fate, the captain of his own soul. This desire had left him an old, jaded man who was giving everything that anyone could ever want, only to become a miserable prisoner of his own desires. Kind of like Ebenezer Scrooge. Now, this plays a very important part in modern day. We talked a while back about the systems of the calendar year, how you have the dot where everything's right then. It doesn't matter what else is happening right now. Live for the moment. You know, that's chaotic, okay? And then you have the linear. You have a beginning and you have an end. And then you have a cyclical system. It starts, winter comes, goes around, spring, summer, fall, winter again. Well, he's basing his argument right now on a cyclical system. And there's some truth in that. Now, we talked a little bit a while back about it is that every winter there's a spring. And every spring is what comes, it bears the fruit of what was laid in the fall and the summer. Okay? So, we had two great awakenings right after each other. And then in the 60s, we had an awakening to New Age and not to the gospel. And our government and our system of government has been tainted and affected by that awakening. That's why we hear so much about climate change and saving the animals over heating the houses. You know, I mean, we got to have electric cars so we can save our energy, but we're going to build all these electrical plants that run off coal and oil to charge the cars that run off electricity. You see what I'm saying? And when we had a pandemic, did they have a national day of prayer? What did they say? Follow the science. No care for God except in a casual byway of just appeasing people. You know? We can't say anymore, oh, homosexual is wrong according to the Bible. Even the Republicans, what do they say? Well, we should just let live and let live. Whatever's fine. If it makes you happy, do it. We've set aside the standards and the establishment of the Word of God for whatever makes us feel good. And we have to follow the science, unless the science just declares that you're a man when you want to be a woman. So our world right now, our nation, has become a picture of what Solomon was. And we're in the winter time of this nation right now. And what's happening and what we do now is what's going to decide what our awakening in the spring is going to be. Are we going to awaken unto God? Or are we going to awaken further and further into the abyss? And that burden lays on the shoulders of his ministers and his ambassadors. Because if we're pictures of the world, and the world, when they see us, see themselves, we are not representing God. Because we can say, yes, God, I love you, God, I'm in church every day, but my life says, no, God, we are no better than the lost. We're saved by the skin of our teeth. Now, this, I'm not preaching to you, I'm preaching to me too. Because it's so easy. It's so easy to get caught up in what we want, what I want. The thing I want you to take away from this today is follow the science without trusting in God, who is above all things, no matter how correct your findings may be in that science. Eventually, they will only lead one way, to the folly and fables such as Bill Nye believing aliens seeding the earth. That's where life came from. He can't believe in a God, a creator, but he can believe, hey, there's aliens out there. They come and they seeded the earth. Who created the aliens? Well, I don't know, maybe another race of aliens. Well, who created them? And such and so on. Without God, science can only be so called. No matter how correct the facts, no matter how the statements are, because they will always lead to fables. It's like carbon dating. Y'all ever heard of carbon dating? Okay. How is it that it's so correct that they can have a volcano in Hawaii and the new rock that's formed shows itself to be 10,000, 50,000 years older than the rock that's under it? That tells me there's got to be a problem with the system. You know, if I was driving down the road and my air pressure gauge inside my little car said everything, all the tires were full, and I got out there, I'm running on the rims, wouldn't you say that was a problem? But if I said, no, them aren't flat because my gauge says it, so I'm going to believe it, that's stupidity. And when you get into them situations, what are you dealing with? Stupid people trying to say no God. And you have to deal with them accordingly. Not ignorant. Ignorant people don't know. Stupid people know and decide against it, the truth anyway. So don't follow the science. Don't follow man. Follow God. Don't sit up every night having to watch everything the news says about Biden or Trump or anybody else. They're neither one going to save us. The only Savior is the Lord Jesus Christ. Focus on that. Whatever may come. Let me close with this verse. And it's a command that Paul gave to Timothy, and through the Holy Spirit, he's given it to us. It's 1 Timothy 6:20. Keep that which is committed to thy trust. Keep it. How do you keep it? You read it. You study it. You pray over it. You don't set it on the shelf and say, well, I'll pick it up next Sunday if I decide to go.